Hi, Jennifer. How are you doing today?
Hi, Sierra. I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. So, welcome to Posh Talk. And I just want everyone to know who you are before we get into everything. But I'm just so excited for us to get into our conversation today. I have some burning questions because it's very rare that I have someone who has as much experience as you do in the entrepreneur space. And honestly, being a creative and changing people's lives in the way that you do. So, yeah, I'm super excited. So, let me get into it. So
Okay, sounds
today,
good. Sounds
awesome.
great.
So today I'm joined here with Jennifer Q. Williams, owner and founder of St. Louis Closet Co. A proud St. Louis native, entrepreneur, and mom, after earning a degree in communications and PR from St. Louis University, she followed her passion for organization and launched her business in 1991. With dedication and tenacity, she built the first locally owned floor based closet company in the area. Beyond business, Jennifer is deeply committed to giving back to the community by supporting numerous local charities and schools, balancing life as a business owner and mother. She takes pride in helping her community stay organized while making a difference. Yay. Hi, Jennifer.
Well, hello,
I'm super
everyone.
excited.
I know. Well, thank you for the introduction. I'm just so excited to be here today and tell you and your listeners my story. We talked a little bit before we were on, and maybe I'm a little older than some of your listeners, but I started my business when I was 25. And
Mhm.
I spend a lot of time today talking to high school and college students about entrepreneurship. So, even though I'm not as young as you and maybe some of your listeners, I do try to help in any way I can, and sort of tell my story. And I think entrepreneurship at any age is exciting and fun and challenging. And I really encourage, everyone to get involved, but especially young people. They say 9 out of every 10 startups fail within the first five
Mhm.
years. So if those are the numbers, start young, right? I mean, get going.
Right.
Also, I think when you're young, you're willing to take more risks, right? Maybe you don't have as
Mhm.
many responsibilities. The older you get, you tend to have more responsibilities, and maybe you have a house payment, maybe you have kids, you have to take care of, and so it becomes harder and harder. So when I
Yeah.
started my business, I was 25. I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. I didn't have a house, and I was like, let's just go for it. So
Right.
tell me what you want to hear from me today. And, I'm happy to
Yeah, of
share and
course. Thank
chat.
you
And
for thank you for that. I'm gonna pick two things that I heard. So first, I come from an entrepreneurial family as well. My dad, he started his business in I think 1993. So I was like, okay, 1991, you beat my dad out. That's really cool. And then second, um, I think him and my mom were married by the time they were 25 and they like had me. I think my dad was a little bit older. My mom was definitely 25. I feel like it's very common now for a 25-year-old to be like, yeah, I'm starting a business. I don't have a husband or a wife. I don't have kids or anything, but I'm really passionate about this thing. And so I'm going to do that. I guess like what was the pivotal moment that made you want to do that at 25 versus like, you know what, let me get a family and do all of that first and then do the business thing.
well, it was 1991, and I was in graduate school, as you mentioned, at St. Louis University.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. I was studying marketing and public relations, but
Mm,
like so many college and graduate students, I just hadn't found my thing yet.
okay.
I was living on my own. I was waiting tables to earn extra money, going to grad school. And a friend of mine actually moved to St. Louis, and he was setting up a custom closet company. It was a franchise from California. And we went out for dinner, and he's like, Jennifer, you would love this. Come work for me. So I was like, sure. So I, of course, kept my waitressing job because I knew that was for sure money. And
Right.
I went to work there, And literally after 2 weeks, I was like, this is it. I mean, the light went off for me. I was like, this is my calling. First of all, I love organization. My mom says I was organizing my closet when I was in middle school. I loved the sheer gratification, satisfaction, and happiness that my customers would get when they got their spaces organized. And I was like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. So I quit working for that other company and I dropped out of graduate school. I kept my waitressing job and I decided to write a business plan. And I started knocking on doors at banks because I needed a loan.
Mhm.
I got a lot of no's. I was
Yeah.
young, no cosigner. I didn't have
Right.
a savings account. But finally, I got this amazing banker. I still chat with him today, 34 years later, who gave me a chance. And he helped me get approved for a small business administration loan. And then I financed the rest of the business with credit cards.
Mhm.
And that's how I got started. And, I tell people all the time, first of all, if you're going to become an entrepreneur, you
Mhm.
need to love what you're doing. I mean, your business is your baby, right? And you're going to do it 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You're going to, dream about it at night. You're going to take it with you on vacation. So you have to love it. But it also has to be an idea or a service or a product that people really need, right? Or people
Exactly.
really want. So I always say, find a problem. Maybe you're having a problem. Find
Mhm.
something that's not right, not working right, and then come up with a solution. And then that solution becomes the business.
Right. Right, absolutely. I feel like that's something that I talk about a lot in my business because in my business, I do consulting and I do consulting for a lot of small businesses and businesses that are just starting up. And my main thing is, I'm like, okay, so what problem are you solving? Like, is this going to make someone's life easier or are you just trying to line your pockets? Because if you're trying to line your pockets, it's most likely not going to work. And I try to ease them into that before I like kill their dreams and be like, this is not it, girl. I'm sorry. But I'm realistic because I know what a strong business can be like and what it can do for the community, for your life, or your family if it's set up on the right principles first. And so thank you for reiterating that. That was
No,
perfect.
absolutely. Like you said, if you're,
Mhm.
obviously we go into business because we want to work for ourselves and we do want to make money. We want to have a
Mhm.
flexible schedule. Of course, all of those things, but those things are the outcome. Those are
Mhm.
not the reason you get in the business.
Right.
So like you said, if you're getting into business because you think, oh, I'm going to, line my pockets, as you said, that may work, and I hope it does. But you need more. You need
Yeah.
more to get going, and you also need more to stay motivated, right? I
Mhm.
mean, it's like because if you're going into business to become an entrepreneur, and your only goal is to make money, that's your only
Mhm.
goal. Well, what happens when you don't make money, or what happens when you
Right.
have a down year? Do you just quit and walk away? You
Mhm.
have to have a real passion for what it is you're doing that it gets you out of bed in the morning. It keeps you going back day after day after day. And the money will come if you provide a service, a product that is needed, is wanted, um, that you believe in and your customers love. Well, the money will come, right? I mean, that will happen, but that's not why you get started.
Exactly. Exactly. So I will say 1999, 1991. That's a very long time. So obviously you're successful and you've created this longevity. We want to know the secret. So what's your personal secret of how you've been able to sustain your business for so long? Because that's such an accolade.
Well, okay. So I don't think there's any secrets or
Mhm.
luck in
Mhm.
success. I really don't. There's a lot of hard work, a lot of hard work. Um, I think that hard work is number one and probably number two, three, four, all the way up until you can.
Right.
But the second thing is surround yourself with really good people,
Mhm.
whether it's employees that are amazing or a team outside, a good attorney, a good accountant, a good consultant,
Mhm.
someone who is going to help you along the way, because you cannot do it by yourself, or you
Right.
just can't. And people who try to go into business and they don't surround themselves by this team of people, they usually fail
Mhm.
because one person can't do everything. You do need
Exactly.
help. And then I think the third thing is something that I find most successful business owners are able to make decisions quickly and with the history, right? I mean, no decision and every decision is not going to be perfect along the way. But
Mhm.
if you hesitate making decisions for your business, everything stops, right?
Right.
You can't move forward, your customers can't move forward, your employees can't move forward. So I always start with people and say, are you the kind of person who can make decisions quickly, right?
Yeah.
And I always start with a can of paint.
Mhm.
If you're going to paint your living room blue,
Mhm.
well, there's 700,000 shades of blue. If
Yes.
you spend 6 months picking out a can of paint and you can't pick it and you never decide and nothing moves forward and your living room just sits there and you just can't decide, you're probably not a good business owner,
Mhm.
because the average person makes 30,000 decisions a day.
Oh
And
wow.
so if you're a small business owner, you're making even more. And
Mhm.
everybody's waiting on you. So you have to be able to make decisions, educated, good decisions, right?
Right.
But then you also have to be able to, when a decision is maybe the wrong decision or it doesn't work out how you thought, you have to be able to pivot quickly and get
Mhm.
onto a new path. You cannot freeze when you're a small business owner. You just have to keep going forward in any
Mhm.
way you can.
Right. I think that's honestly so insightful because it made me think about how I operate in my business, and I'm just like, do I make decisions on like a split? And I'm like, for the most part, yeah, but there's times where I'm just like, yeah, this whole project stopped because I couldn't figure out like how I should move forward, or I couldn't figure out like, okay, I'm having a mental block. How can I fix that or alleviate that from myself? It was just like, okay, everything stopped. And that's
Right.
counterproductive. And I'm like, that didn't do anything for me. That didn't do anything for the client. And yeah, it slows down the whole ship, because a lot of the things that I do in my business is it's project based. So, and I'm sure you understand that because a lot of the things you do is project based as well. But it's just like, if I can't figure out this one thing for a project, and let's say I don't make one decision, it backs up the whole website debut a week.
Right.
That's a week that I it's honestly expensive because I need almost every day to knock out projects. So it's just like, if I push yours out to a week, then the other person's gets pushed out to a week. I can't even build anything new or bill anything new because it's like I don't have the capacity to do that. And then that kind of goes back to your thing of like, you can't do it alone. So
Right. Exactly. That's what
absolutely.
I was going to say. It's why it goes back to surround yourself by, a great business consultant like you, Sierra, who
Mhm.
can come in from the outside and be like, "Hey, Jennifer, look what you're doing. You're backing yourself up. You're not moving forward." And I'm not suggesting people make quick, uneducated,
Right.
uninformed decisions that are going to hurt their business or their employees. But we have enough access these days in the world with technology and Google and
Mhm.
everything to make educated decisions.
Mhm.
But you have to, it goes back to risk taking, right? You have to be able to take those risks, make those decisions, and keep moving forward, because you can never go back and get that week back, right?
Exactly.
That week is over.
Mhm.
And now, like what you said, is you've pushed all those other clients out. Then all of a
Mhm.
sudden you have unhappy customers because they're waiting too long.
Right.
And, at St. Louis Closet Company, we install in 12 homes a day, 6 days a
Wow.
week.
Mhm.
And we have to keep moving, right? I mean, we can't, because tomorrow has to happen. If I don't make
Mhm.
today happen, I can't push it to tomorrow because tomorrow's already booked.
Right.
So it's the same thing you were saying with your projects.
Mhm. Wow. So we're not gonna skirt past that. You said 12 homes a day?
12 homes a day. Yeah, we have 12 installation crews,
Uh-huh.
and we work 6 days a week,
Yeah.
installing custom closets and organizational systems. So back up a little bit. We didn't really talk
Mhm.
about what I do.
Right, I'm like, let's get
Yeah.
into that. Let's back up.
So yeah. So, St. Louis Closet Company, what we do is we design, manufacture, and install custom closets and organizational systems within the home.
Yeah.
So, the adjustable shelving for your shoes and the hanging rods and the pull out baskets and drawers and tie racks and belt racks and all the things to one, make your closet or your area of your home more functional, more organized.
Right.
But by doing that, it reduces stress, it reduces anxiety, it allows you to find your things much faster. And we do pantries, we do mudrooms, we do lockers, we do home offices, entertainment centers, linen closets, garages. So any area in your home that could use a little bit more organization,
Mhm.
that's what we come in and design.
I really love that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I always think about my dream house and I'm like I want this massive closet. And I don't want it massive so that I can just stuff a bunch of clothes in there. I just want all the shelving units and the doors and the pullouts and I want it to almost look like a boutique in there. And
Right.
so I'm like that's what I'm working for. Every day I do this, I'm working for that. That's my goal.
Well,
so
that's
I,
perfect, Sierra.
yeah.
This was the perfect podcast, right? So
Yeah.
we're going to motivate you to work harder to get a new closet.
Yeah.
Boutique closets are becoming probably one of the most trending things right now in
Really?
my industry
Mhm,
because people spend a lot of money on their clothes, their
mhm.
shoes, their purses, and then we bring home those expensive, really investments, right?
Yes,
And then
yes.
we shove them in a closet that has one shelf and one pole, and then the shoes are all scuffed up on the bottom of the
Mhm,
floor. Your hangers are all messed up. You're jamming your
mhm,
clothes in. You can't find your clothes. So a custom closet not only looks really pretty and allows you to, usually get way more space than you had before, but it
mhm.
also helps protect the investment in your wardrobe or the things that you're storing because now everything has a place,
Right.
right? So your shoes are no longer just thrown into the bottom of the closet.
Mhm.
Custom closets, I think one of the best things about custom closets are for kids.
Really?
Kids love to be organized. And if you think about it, little kids go to school, they start in preschool, and guess what? The first thing they walk in, what? They have a locker, right?
Mhm,
They go to their locker, they take off their coat, their backpack, they
mhm,
put it in their little cubby, and then they know that's where their stuff is. They know that's where it goes. They learn from a very young age.
mhm,
So if you can create those systems in your home at an early age, kids now have the ability to be like, oh, I wore these shoes today. They came off of this shelf. That's where they
mhm.
go back. Or
Right.
pick up your toys. Okay, well, where do I put them? Well, if
Mhm.
each, type of toy has a basket, right? And maybe you label the baskets for them. So it allows, well, I say, it's funny because I say kids and men,
Yeah.
because those two groups of people, um, they tend to not be the most organized, but if you
Right.
give them a system,
Mhm.
they follow that system really, really well.
Mhm. I love that because I was just gonna ask you. I was like, okay, so what happens from childhood to adulthood that men typically get messy, and some women do, but I'm sorry, Dad. I was thinking about you. Some things just kind of get a little disarray, and I'm like, why do you organize your clothes that way? I wonder. No, I don't know, but yeah. So what I'm like from your professional educated opinion, why do you think that kind of happens from childhood? We have a place for everything. And then as we grow up, we're just like, we're buying stuff and we're throwing things everywhere.
Well, I think we get busy, right?
Mhm.
And we have more things going on, and we have mental clutter, we have physical clutter.
Right.
And I know in my lifetime, shopping habits have changed.
Right.
Right? I mean, when I was, I said this the other day to somebody, when I was a young girl, my mom would buy us one dress and we
Mhm.
would wear that dress to church and Sunday school and
Mhm.
to Easter and the family dinner until we outgrew it. And then, pass it down to my younger sister. And then I would get a new dress. Well, today my daughter, has 50 dresses, right? I
Right.
mean, it's like, and then she wears them once or twice. And I think what has changed?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's called fast retail or
Fast
something like that.
fashion.
Fast
Mm-hmm.
fashion.
Mm-hmm.
I call it dress in a bag, right? You order a dress and it shows up the next day all wrinkled up in a bag.
Yeah.
And so we tend to, we buy too much stuff.
Yeah.
We have too much stuff. We're all busy. We're all stressed out. And we shop at big box stores. We shop, on Amazon, right? I mean, if you go to Sam's, you can't buy 4 rolls of toilet paper. You have to buy 40. And you
Yeah.
bring them home. And then now, where am I going to store that toilet paper, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's uh, more of a generation. It's not just like kids to adults. I think it's the time has changed
Yeah.
and we just have more stuff. And like, I think we treat our stuff almost too disposable.
Mm.
Whereas, oh, it's okay if those get messed up, we'll just order another pair. Or those were so
Mm-hmm.
cheap, I bought like 2 or 3 pair. And, you can, if you start organizing your life and decluttering and hanging on to the things that have value. I mean, like if you invest in a very expensive pair of shoes,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna want to take care of those shoes better. You're gonna
Right.
want to wear those shoes more than just one time and throw them away. And
Mm-hmm.
if you have a place to take care of those things and they're not getting scuffed up, then that's going to make you feel better.
Right.
So in addition to a custom closet from St. Louis Closet Company being super cool and look beautiful and all that,
Mm-hmm.
it really does sort of change our mood, right? It just, you walk into your closet every single day, right? It's
Right.
something that you literally open up. It's like a Christmas present you open up every day. And you
Right.
go in and you're like, oh my God, I can see my stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
color coded. It looks beautiful. I have a place for all my shoes, a place for my sweaters. And you just feel better.
Right. Absolutely. And it's so interesting that you mentioned fast fashion because my degree is in fashion merchandising and retail marketing. I focus a lot on the marketing part, but the basis of it was fashion. And most people are like, "Oh, that's you went to school for design." I'm like, "No, I did not. I went for the business of fashion. We did not design or make or stitch anything. However, we did. I believe one of my case studies in my senior year was on Zara and the effect of fast fashion. And at that time, it was a big deal then. However, Shein had not even come into existence yet. And so I just know the issue has gotten way more um there's no other word. It's gotten worse. And sustainability is really an issue that I'm like we can go on and on about it like all day, but the truth of the matter is it's like we should have different options and just different resources to make sure that people know like hey like your clothes are an investment. You don't have to get the cheapest thing. It's okay to like just invest in certain things. So I kind of want to pivot to how do you explain that this is an investment? Your clothing is an investment. These things aren't as disposable as you think they are.
Well, or they're not as maybe disposable as you were treating them, right? And
Exactly.
it's not as you think they are, but maybe as you're treating it.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of times it's an age thing.
Mhm.
Younger people are like, oh, well, I can't afford, a Gucci purse
Right.
that's gonna, be several $1,000s, but it'll last you the rest of your life. But
Mhm.
they then go out and buy 10 or 15 throwaway purses. And each
Exactly.
one of those was, maybe only 20, 30, 40, $50. But when you add that up and, the stuff starts falling apart, the dress in a bag, which,
Mhm.
I really try to, steer my daughter away from, but that
Yeah.
seems to be, the thing in college girls, they just order all these clothes. And I'm like, yeah, but you wear it one time.
Mhm.
And then what? Right. And then it's either falling apart or you don't like it or it doesn't fit you well.
Yeah.
So I think it's young people, maybe they think they're saving money because it's less
Mhm.
expensive than maybe
Right.
something that's a little bit more. So it's sort of teaching younger people that, and it's not that you have to go out and buy a designer wardrobe. I'm not suggesting that at all.
Exactly.
Um, but it's like maybe think about your purchases and
Mhm.
save up, I mean, my daughter just started her first career, and I'm like, okay, so instead of buying like 3 or 4 pair of black dress pants that are going to literally fall apart after a
Yeah.
few months, I was like, maybe, buy 2 pair that are really well made that you'll be able to
Exactly.
wear, and then, sort of show them or teach them, the benefit of maybe investing a little more because it's going to last. And,
Mhm.
it's funny because my mom,
Mhm.
she's 82 years old, and she has clothes that she wore in high school that
That are still good.
that are still in amazing condition. And
Mhm.
she said, Jennifer, don't ever throw away anything because it always comes back in style. And I'm like, oh, mom, but it does.
It does, yeah. It's like 20
It
years.
comes back around.
Mhm.
And now vintage fashion,
Mhm.
I really, really like to recommend shopping vintage because
Mhm.
what a great way to, be sustainable. And, I mean, you can buy some of the coolest things at vintage
Yes.
stores, some of the neatest things that you can't buy anymore today. Um, but then also, the investment in a custom closet, look at it not, some people are like, oh, I can't afford a custom closet. It's too
Yeah.
expensive. Well, but once again, if the investment in the custom closet, the custom shelving unit is going to help keep your things nicer, not scuffed up, it's you're protecting the investment. So
Mhm.
it really becomes an investment in your investment. So people shouldn't look at it as just like a quick little purchase. Oh, I can't afford that. I have a lot of clients that are like, oh, I didn't think I could afford the St. Louis Closet, but I went to Target and I bought this little shoe rack and I bought this
Mhm.
little bin and I bought these baskets and then I bought this little 3 drawer thing. And they put it all in their closet. It's a mess. It's not really organized. It doesn't
Yeah.
all fit. They probably spent more money.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, now I get it. I should have, you know, spent the money and done it the right way to begin with.
Mhm.
But, organization does not, although, okay, let's just start with I believe everybody in the world should have a custom closet. It will
Right.
change your life.
Absolutely.
However, if you maybe live in an apartment or
Mhm.
you can't afford it, that start small, right? You don't have to call a custom closet company.
Right.
Start small. Maybe decide this weekend you're going to clean out your coat closet, right? Take everything out, try the coats on, make sure that the zippers work, they're clean, there's
Mhm.
no tears, make sure they fit you. Clean the closet really well, maybe paint it, get matching hangers, put everything back. And then the stuff that you don't wear anymore, the stuff that maybe doesn't fit you or your kids have outgrown,
Mhm.
donate it to people that don't have coats,
Exactly.
right? So start by just a basic decluttering of your space, which you can do for free. You
Mhm.
do it, don't take on the whole house at once. That'll be too overwhelming. Just
Yeah.
do one space at a time. And I'm telling you, the joy that will bring you to just having that one space organized. Every time you walk past, you're going to open that door and be like, oh, look at it. You're going to
Exactly.
take a picture and send it to your friends. Like, look, I cleaned my coat closet this weekend. I'm so
Mhm.
proud of myself, or maybe do a junk drawer in your kitchen.
Mhm.
So start
Absolutely.
small and realize the joy of having this organized space in your home. And all of a sudden it starts spreading. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, now I need to do my dressers. And really go through the stuff. I mean, there's, the lady who wrote the book about hold everything in your hand. And if it brings you joy, keep it. Well,
Right.
that's great. That's a little overboard, but you know, do you have you worn it in the last couple years? And if not,
Mhm.
then it's probably time to get rid of it. I mean, maybe there's some very sentimental things, like maybe your wedding dress. Of course, you're not going to get rid of that because you haven't worn it in 2 years.
Right.
But, you know, think about how many t-shirts and sweatshirts we have in our lives. Everything that you do anymore, you get a t-shirt, right? Whether you do a 5K race or a
Every
charity
time.
event or you sign up as something at the grocery, you get a t-shirt. And then nobody wants to get rid of the t-shirts. And then we have
It holds so much sentimental value.
thousands of t-shirts and then you don't have room for your regular clothes. So
Right.
really start going through area by area in your home and declutter. And it not only declutters the space, but you'll start noticing this sort of mental decluttering.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. So, we're going to shift into the relationships. We're going to take a quick little break. but we're going to get back and we're going to start with work-life balance. Does that sound good?
Okay, sounds good.
PoshQ Consultation is a consulting and branding company that specializes in business consulting, branding, and web development. We're accepting new clients and new projects. Visit us at poshqconsult.com. Okay, and we're back. Okay, so Jennifer, here on Posh Talk, I believe in what I would call like the holistic entrepreneur, meaning that of course we're entrepreneurs and we handle business by day and sometimes by night, but we also have relationships because we're business owners, but we're also often mothers, sisters, daughters, cousins, and aunties, and everything in between. So I want to know. I always ask everyone like work-life balance. What does that look like for you, and how did you? We'll start from the beginning to now because sometimes our beginning doesn't look like our now, but we need to know the whole story. So what did work-life balance look like for you in the beginning versus, as your life started to progress?
Okay, so I think in the beginning I would have failed miserably. Like I said, I was 25. I wasn't in a relationship. I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. And I was a workaholic. I think I still am a workaholic.
Right.
But so in the beginning, it was not good. But after a couple years of being in business, I realized I needed more in my life that was not just work. So, I was, after a few years, I started when I was 25. So this is when I was like 27, 28. And all my girlfriends were getting engaged and getting married. And most of my customers were women. And I was like, okay, this is not, how am I going to meet? I need to meet a guy, right?
Right.
And so it was Small Business Week. And there was a story in the Business Journal about the Young Entrepreneur of the Year for St. Louis. And it was a picture of this really cute boy, and he owned his own business. And I was like, oh, okay. So we got a little bit in common. So I bought a ticket to the luncheon. And I went to the luncheon. I walked up to him. I introduced myself. He invited me to sit at his table. And he, all of a sudden, it was like, wait a minute. I have somebody my age, someone doing, he had a totally different business, but it was an entrepreneur. And we became the best friends, right? And then after a couple of years of being friends, so not only were we great friends, but we were sort of like, I had somebody in my network now that could look into my business from the outside and give me suggestions and back and forth. And it was great to finally have that person. And then after 2 years, we were like, oh, wow, maybe we should just date. So we started dating, and then we got married. So my husband, which is fabulous. It's a great story. It's funny because I tell everybody I met him at his award, and then the very next year I won the same award. So I was like,
I love it. Oh my gosh, someone make a movie.
I was like, I can win that award too. So anyway, so that's how we met. So then, then I think we kind of almost got into, you have to be careful, right? Because entrepreneurs feed off of entrepreneurs. Yeah. So then we were almost like working even too much, right? Because now we were together, and we'd come home at night and we'd be like, well, this happened and this happened. And so we were like, okay. Then we decided to have a family, and my son was born in 2000. And I think that's when I was like, okay, my family is huge, right? This is everything. And so we started, even though I was a miserable failure at taking him to daycare because I just couldn't do it. So I built a little playroom area at my work so I could bring him to work with me. And then 18 months later, I had my daughter. So, I was fortunate. And once again, there are benefits of being your own boss, right? I was able to bring my kiddos to work and be able to be with them while still, doing my job. Then when they got older and they went to school, I made sure to put them into a school that was close to my work, because both my husband and I really wanted to be, super involved with their school, their sports. Both my kids played a lot of sports when they got to high school. So you figure out a way, right? Work-life balance. Entrepreneurs in general, me included, we're not good at work-life balance. We're not. But 6 years ago, I had a health scare. I had a stroke.
Oh no.
And I was pretty young. Well, I'm 59 now, so I was 53,
Mhm.
and it sort of put everything into perspective. And health became, we wake up every day and we just go, 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 right? And
Right.
we don't always take care of ourselves. I think especially women, we put everybody else first.
Mhm.
So I, at that point, 6 years ago, decided I needed to lose weight. I needed to start exercising. I needed to start eating healthy. And I'm not the kind of person that's gonna go to the gym and get on a treadmill. That's not for me. But I love walking, and I
Yeah.
love walking outside. So I started 6 years ago, and I haven't missed a day yet. I get up at 5 a.m. and I walk 5 to 6 miles every single morning before I even start my day. And it's probably been one of the best things I've ever done my whole life. First of all, I love being outside no matter what the weather.
Mhm.
The only time I won't walk outside is if there's ice.
Yeah.
I'll walk in the snow, I'll walk in the heat, I'll even walk in the rain, but ice scares me because I'm going to like slip and fall. But anyway,
I see it right.
that was something that really, really changed my life. Because not only I was setting aside that time for myself every single day, no matter what was going on, but it was good for my health, and it
Mhm.
was really good for clearing my mind, which then allowed me, and I think I became a better business owner
Right.
because I start out each day sort of, freshly ready. I just ready. Like my brain is clear. I feel good. I've got extra energy. And so that is something that I think all entrepreneurs need to do is take the time for themselves.
Mhm.
And we're not good at it. I mean, no, we're just not good at it because we always put the business first.
Yeah.
So, work life balance, and I am not going to say I am even remotely good at it. I mean, like I told you, I think when I started the business, I would have given myself an F. And here today, 34 years later, I'm probably maybe a C plus.
Yeah.
But it is something that I try really hard to work on.
Mhm. I love that. Thank you for the transparency because it does take a lot for us to admit, like, you know what? I failed in this area and I'm working on it and I'm still a work in progress.
Mhm.
So thank you so much for that. And I commend you. So how do you I want to still get into relationships, but I think I want to ask more about on the networking side of things. So I do want to know, like, who were the influential people when you started your business? And they're probably influential people now still in your business, but specifically when you were starting your business, who are those influential people that really helped you, I guess, like stay in line, but also really played a pivotal role in just keeping your business going on a day to day?
Well, I think we talked a little earlier about meeting my husband, who was
Yeah.
a fellow young entrepreneur.
Mhm.
So, I think he's probably right up there at the top
Mhm.
because he owns his own business. I own my own business, and then together we own a third business.
Yeah.
So, we sort of, I think are that person for both of us.
Mhm.
Um, and then I think along the way, my best friend from growing up, our moms were friends,
Mhm.
and we grew up across the street from each other. Like literally, we were born, 6 or 7 months apart. We went to grade school, middle school, and high school together, and then college together. And she was my first employee I ever
Mhm.
hired. So she's been with me for 34 years, and she's still here. So I think, definitely she's up there at the top also.
Mhm.
Professionally, I think I've tried to network as much as I can,
Mhm.
both locally with other business owners and
Mhm.
other entrepreneurs, but on a national level, I've made it a purpose to belong to any and all trade organizations that have
Mhm.
to do with my business because I can't go down the street to my competitors, and be like, "Oh, hi, it's Jennifer at St. Louis Closet Company. Tell me about your business." However, I have found this camaraderie outside of St. Louis with
Mhm.
other closet company owners in other cities,
Mhm.
and that's been extremely helpful. Being part of groups like that you can, when you are having a problem, call up someone in another city and be like, "Hey, have you ever had this happen?"
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle, these types of things, whether it's supplier issues or material issues or employee issues, having somebody in your same line of business, but
Mm-hmm.
not a direct competitor.
Yeah, I love that because it's like you don't want them to give you like I guess like kind of like shady advice so that you can't one up them, but it's like an even playing field because it's like you know that they're coming from a good and honest and genuine place. So I
Right.
really love that. Yeah.
Right.
So when you said national trade organizations, right?
Yes.
Which ones are you a part of?
Well, we're a part. There's a group called the National Association of Professional Organizers,
Hmm.
NAPO.
Wow.
And then there's the Association for Closet and Storage Professionals.
Hmm.
And then there's more of a small, locally owned, where no franchises are involved,
Yeah.
organization with just locally owned business, other closet companies around the country. So
Hmm.
I try to stay as involved as I can. And then those people become, your sounding board, like we
Right.
said, and they're available when you have problems. And then, but you have to give back, right? You
Hmm.
can't be the person who's always taking, you have to be the one giving back also.
Yeah. I would say I was literally just talking to a client of mine about that last night because we were kind of talking about the topic where we were just discussing about having the right people around you in your group and even on your team who you hire. And it we got into this discussion because we were discussing she wants people to pull more out of her when she's just making content or trying to make business decisions. Essentially she doesn't want a bunch of people just telling her yes. And I'm like, absolutely, that makes more sense. And I was like, I think people do that because they view you at such a high pedestal and they see you as an opportunity. So they're trying to take from you. And I think the problem and the misconception a lot of people have as yeah, even if you're just starting on your grind, you still can add something to somebody else, even if you aren't at the same level or reach the same heights. And so it's that's a misconception that you are always trying to take from somebody who you perceive as being higher than you, instead of trying to be like, you know what, I see what you're doing, I see what I'm trying to do. How can we both benefit from this? Like, how can we make this reciprocal?
Right, absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
I think having, a clear line of communication with
Mm-hmm.
people and be like, hey, I feel like I'm always doing, this, and this, but
Mm-hmm.
I need your help. I need your opinion. I need your insight to tell me what you think I could do better.
Mm-hmm.
Or, so bring it up. Don't just sit back and say, oh, I just feel like they're taking. Go to them and say, hey, I need your help, right?
Yeah.
Make them feel like they're at your level.
Yeah, yeah, that's so good. And still on the, because I'm like, we're kind of going through relationships and lifestyle. Sometimes they overlap. It's like a Venn diagram. And so you already talked about something that you do every day because morning routines is so big. It's actually kind of like trending right now. Have you seen the video of the fitness trainer doing his morning routine and it starts at like 4 a.m. and it's kind of like insane?
No, I haven't seen that, but there's, a book like, the 5 a.m. club,
Yeah.
where you get up and you do 20 minutes of meditation, 20 minutes of
Hmm.
exercise, and 20 minutes of reading or self improve or
Yeah.
something like that. And my husband's like, oh, you're kind of in the 5 a.m. club. I go, yeah, but I am not, I can't meditate. I've tried. But my meditation, I think, happens on my walk
Okay.
when I'm outside. But yeah, I need to look up you need to send me the link for the video of the guy.
Yeah, when I find it, I'll send it
Okay.
because I think I saw it from like a second party and I need to find the actual creator. But it's so funny. And I think it's funny because people, everyone kind of is trying to make content and they want things to be viral. So some of it, I feel like when it started out, it was like, okay, I see it. But it was certain things in the video where it's like, okay, now you're doing a lot. Like, what is this? Because I think he had like this spring water, and the spring water, the internet's such a crazy place. The spring water sold out. You can't even get it anymore. But he used the spring water to create like an ice bath to dunk his face in it. But I guess people were looking like, why did you have to use the spring water? You could have just used tap water and you could have just drunk the spring water because he started off by drinking it. But anyway, I'll send it to you so you
Okay.
know what
All
I'm
right. Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, routines are, I just think routines are important
Yeah,
in all walks of
absolutely.
life, right? Whether you're a business owner or a mom or work for a big company or stay at home or whatever, I think
Mhm.
routines are important. They, once again, it goes back in my life to organization, right? A
Mhm.
routine and a schedule, it's organized. And
Right.
I've always been, a super organized person. So um, I think that they make you more productive, right?
Mhm.
You keep on track, you
Absolutely.
keep on schedule, and you just keep going.
Yes. So, I think this one is kind of like lifestyle and personal growth and relationship related. But how has being an entrepreneur changed you as a person outside of work?
Wow, that's a hard question. I've been doing this for more than half my life. I've been an
Mhm.
entrepreneur. I've owned St. Louis Closet Company for more than half of my life.
Mhm.
So it's hard for me to look at myself as anything separate from my business, right? My
Right.
business is me and I'm my, we're
Mhm.
sort of one in the same. Um, and I don't have, other than waiting tables when I was in college, I don't have any other work experience. I
Oh
never,
wow.
other than the 2 weeks I worked for the other closet company, I've never worked for anybody else other than waiting
Mhm.
tables. So I don't have a lot of experience, knowing how has this changed me, because this is really, I feel like, almost all I've done. I think I think overall it has, being an entrepreneur, it has challenged me throughout my life. It has made me a better person.
Mhm.
Um, it's made me, I think, become a more charitable, caring person,
Mhm.
because not only do I have, this huge amount of customers that
Mhm.
all live in my area. I'm a locally owned small business, and they have supported me through the years. So not only do I, care more about my clients and their experience that they get with my company, it's made me want to give back to my community,
Mhm.
because I feel like my community has helped me so much. So right at the beginning of COVID, literally March of 2020, we were just ready to launch a new charitable program called Closets for a Cause. And
Mhm.
each month we partner with a local um, charity, and we try to do something, whether we give a percentage of sales or whether we collaborate on a giveaway or a collection or something. And COVID was hitting, and everybody's like, "Oh, we need to put the brakes on this." And I said, "No,
Mhm.
these charities are going to need this more now than ever."
Yeah.
And I'm glad we didn't stop, because it's become hugely successful. It's super fulfilling that I'm at a point in my life and my business that I can give back to my community.
Mhm.
And, also, even some of the younger listeners who are starting out, who say, I can't really afford to donate to charities right now, right? Every day I'm just
Mhm.
trying to pay the bills. Well, think outside the box. This
Mhm.
month we're doing a collaboration with Dress for Success, that
Mhm.
they're looking for, business outfits for women to go on interviews who don't have the
Mhm.
clothes to wear on interviews. And here I have this whole database full of customers that I know
Mhm.
that have closets that have too many clothes in. So
Right.
we're doing a collection for Dress for Success, and it's helping me, because all of a sudden my customers are like, wow, St. Louis Closet Company is this great business giving back to the
Mhm.
community. It's
Right.
causing my customers to maybe go clean out their closet and think, oh wow, maybe I need to buy a new closet. But then
Mhm.
it's also helping all these women in St. Louis who really need an opportunity to go on a job interview, and now they're going to have the clothes.
Mhm.
So it's not costing me any money to do this, but it's a win-win, right? It's
Right.
helping my business, it's helping my customers, and it's helping the charity. So
Mhm.
I think that, owning my own business has caused me to figure out ways that I can give back to all the people who for 34 years have helped me get to where I am.
Right. I really love that. And thank you for sharing that, because I think that's the one thing where I'm like, okay, so I started my business off of a need of wanting to help my community, specifically like black women or black, I have a lot of male clients too, surprisingly, but a lot of just black families create that generational wealth and start their businesses and be able to compete in the landscape, or if they have a product, get it into a store. um, and I want to help them by making their brands look appealing to the public, making it presentable, doing the hard work and the research for them, because it's like they may just be passionate about what they do, whether it's cooking or providing a specific service or having a restaurant or whatever it is. But they don't know the know-how of just like, okay, so how do I actually file the paperwork, or how do I actually do market research, or like what do my demographics look like for where I live at and who will be interested in my product, and like how do I even make it look nice. And so that's where I step in and I'm like, okay, that's where I want to help. But it's trying to find that balance of like, I want to give more, but at the same time, I'm like, this is a business and I have to make money and sustain myself. And so I think you're right. Just have to get creative with that so that you can figure out like, this is, I can still, be a business owner and function, and we're not putting ourselves in the red by helping people, but being creative in ways so that you still can help the community and you still honor the foundations that, my business was founded on.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. And once again, it becomes a win-win. The business succeeds because people are like, oh, wow, look what this business is doing. And it
Mm-hmm.
gives you a great opportunity for press coverage or, referrals and repeat business. And then you're also helping your community. So, you don't have to, business is business, right?
Right.
And I never say that business owners should give away their services or their product for free, right? I mean, that's not what we're in business to do. We're in business. But if you can figure out a way to be in business and be successful and give back to the community in some way,
Mm-hmm.
it's a benefit for everybody involved.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. So we're nearing the end, and I'm so sad because I'm like, we're having such a good conversation. But I do want to know what's next for you in St. Louis Closet Co. Are there any personal or professional goals you're working on? Just share with us what's next.
What's next? Well,
Mhm.
for St. Louis Closet Company, we're
Mhm.
bringing in several new colors. I think
Mhm.
earlier in the show we talked about boutique closets. People are really wanting
Yeah.
to turn their closet into this gorgeous luxury boutique. And
Mhm.
so because of that, we're bringing in all kinds of new beautiful wood grains and colors.
Mhm.
These beautiful this gorgeous celadon green
Mhm.
and a mysterious navy blue. So by continuously offering, new options,
Mhm.
and then we're just out there every day, just trying to do what we do the best we can do it, right?
Mhm.
I I I love my community. I think that we have a lot more growth in front of us, and so that's just sort of the closet company goal. I think professionally, my son started working for me about two
Oh,
years ago when he graduated from college, and he's doing fabulous. So, sort of having him take over, more and more of the responsibilities.
yeah. Mhm.
That's really, both a professional and a personal goal.
Yeah.
And my daughter just moved to Dallas and started her first job. So, sort of, seeing her succeed in her career is,
Yeah.
super fun. And maybe my husband and I can take a little time off with that work life balance and,
Right.
travel. I mean, I love to travel. I just love to travel. So, I'd love to do more of that.
I love that, Jennifer. Thank you so much. I'm like, we got so much, like so many good things out of the conversation. And it's really been an honor and a privilege just to speak with you, because like just to have a business that's been going for as long as you've had it going, that's what we all aspire. That, like, I know every entrepreneur listening, that's what we all are trying to do. So thank you for sharing that. And I feel like the insight that you shared about meeting your husband, that was so great too. So I'm just like, ladies, if you're looking, because I talk about this a lot, about pretty much taking control of that part of your life when it comes
Absolutely.
to relationships. I'm like, no, go ahead and shoot your shot And I love that how you saw what you wanted and you placed yourself and you introduced yourself. I'm like, that's so perfect and so classy. I just love everything about it. So definitely, ladies, like, take notes for real.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And then I want to share one more super exciting thing I
Yeah,
recently did, and hopefully maybe all your listeners can follow me on Instagram, or at least go to my Instagram page.
absolutely.
Um, my I am the
Mm.
biggest number one fan of Nelly. I don't know if
Really?
you know who Nelly is, but he's from St. Louis,
Yeah.
and he's been famous since, I don't know,
Mhm.
a long time, 25
Uh-huh.
plus years. I think his first album came out 25 years ago.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
he's from St. Louis. He lives in St. Louis. He's a huge supporter of St. Louis. And I have wanted to meet him my
Mhm.
entire life. And a couple months ago,
Mhm.
he was working on redoing his studio here in
Uh-huh.
St. Louis.
Mhm.
He was driving down the road, pulled up next to one of my vans, and said, "That's who I'm hiring." He hired us. We outfitted and organized his whole
Mhm.
studio. And then he invited me over, and we did a whole video reveal. I got
Really?
to meet him. I got to spend 2 hours with him. And
Mhm.
we made this really fun video. And, I was just like, starstruck the entire 2 hours. And we made this video, and I posted on my Instagram, and I texted him, and I said, "Hey, I
Mhm.
don't want to bother you, but
Mhm.
I put you as a collaborator if you want to
Yeah.
accept." So he was actually flying out to California to
Mhm.
receive the award, I think at
Mhm.
the the AMAs, the American
Mhm.
Music Awards,
Mhm.
and he accepted the collaboration.
Mhm.
And we've had like 200,000 views, and he
Yeah.
is so great. So, Sierra, you and
Mhm.
your listeners, go to my
Mhm.
Instagram page and look at me meeting Nelly.
Yes, yes, I
Ah,
am. I'm gonna put so your information, go ahead and say it, but it's gonna be in the show notes and everything. And then we're gonna collab this as well because I need to see it. Oh my gosh, I want to see what you did because I know I've looked at your Instagram and all your stuff, and I'm like, everything you do is so beautiful. So
well,
I can't
thank
wait
you.
to go check that out.
Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
if any of your listeners have any questions or anything or want
Mhm,
to chat, feel free to email me directly at
mhm,
Jennifer at stlouisclosetco.com. So
mhm,
Jennifer at St. Louis Closet Co. My website is stlouisclosetco.com. And then we're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Pinterest, all under at St. Louis Closet Co. So feel free to reach out. And, I love talking to entrepreneurs, entrepreneur wannabes, no
yeah.
matter how old you are.
Right.
Just get started, right? If you're listening to the show and you think, oh, I don't know, I've had this idea. I mean, call Sierra, an amazing
Mhm,
business coach. He'll help you get
mhm.
started, and just go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, and my last question, I should have asked this a little bit earlier. So, if they're not in St. Louis, can people still like utilize your services in any type of way, or do you have to just be in St. Louis?
Yeah, we only service the St. Louis metropolitan area.
Mhm,
However, there are custom closet companies all around the country
mhm.
that do a similar type service that we do. And I highly recommend search out and buy from locally owned closet companies, no matter where you're located.
Mhm.
Support local. It's just so important in today's world that we
Mhm.
keep our dollars in our communities.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I appreciate everything, and I can't wait to see that Nelly video. I'm so
Oh,
excited.
no, I'm so excited. I watch it. I'm like probably one of the, 100,000 of the 200,000 views. I watch
Are
it.
you?
I'm so excited. Anyway, thank you, Sierra, and thank you all your listeners for tuning in.
Yeah.
And I just wish you all the best of luck.
Yes, thank you. Bye, Jennifer.
Bye bye.